Richard moved through the bustling marketplace of Zeta Prime Spaceport, his towering frame cutting a path through the crowd. He paused at a stall, eyeing a piece of ancient technology. Before he could negotiate, a commotion erupted nearby. A young woman with bright silver hair stumbled through the crowd, 3 men in dark uniforms pursuing her. Instinctively, Richard intervened, knocking out the first attacker with a single punch. He disarmed the others with swift, precise movements. The woman, eyes wide with fear and gratitude, fell to her knees. "Please," she begged. "I need your protection. I'll be your slave if that's what it takes." Richard frowned, uncomfortable with her desperate offer. "Get up. I don't need a slave," he said gruffly. "I'm Richard. What's your name?" "Anna," she whispered. "All right, Anna, you can come with me, but as my assistant, not a slave. Understood?" She nodded, relief washing over her face. Richard knew his quiet life was about to change, but he couldn't walk away from someone in need. As they moved through the market, he sensed the beginning of a new, unforeseen adventure. Richard led Anna to his small, secure apartment on the outskirts of the spaceport. As they entered, she looked around, eyes wide at the sparse furnishings and high-tech security system. "Who were those men?" Richard asked, watching her closely. Anna hesitated, then sighed. "My real name is Anna Navari. I was the Princess of Neovia. There was a rebellion. My family, they're all dead. Those men were assassins sent to finish the job." Richard's eyes narrowed. "And you want me to help you reclaim your throne?" She nodded, her eyes pleading. "For my people's sake. I know it's a lot to ask, but I'll do whatever it takes." Richard paced, weighing his options. This was far more complicated than he'd expected, but he couldn't turn his back on her. "All right," he said finally, "but you'll need to train. Become stronger. Are you ready for that?" "I am," Anna said, determination flaring in her eyes. "Good," Richard replied. "We start tomorrow. For now, get some rest. You can use the bedroom, I'll take the couch." As Anna retreated to the small bedroom, Richard stared out the window at the sprawling spaceport. His life had just taken a drastic turn, and there was no going back. Over the next few days, Richard pushed Anna to her limits and beyond. They trained from dawn until dusk, and she quickly learned basic combat techniques, weapon handling, and the importance of strategy. Despite her exhaustion and bruises, Anna's determination never wavered. One evening, as they shared a simple meal in the safe house, Anna broached a subject that had been weighing on her mind. "Richard," she began hesitantly, "I'm grateful for everything you're doing, but why are you helping me?" Richard was silent for a long moment, staring into his bowl of synthesized protein. Finally, he met her gaze. "Because sometimes doing the right thing is more important than staying hidden." Anna's eyes widened. "Hidden? What do you mean?" Richard sighed. "Let's just say I have my own reasons for avoiding attention. But seeing you in trouble reminded me of who I used to be, who I should be." Anna reached out, placing her hand on his arm. "You're still that person. I can see it in everything you do." For a brief moment, Richard allowed himself to feel the warmth of her touch and the sincerity in her eyes. Then he pulled back, walls slamming into place. "We should rest," he said gruffly. "Tomorrow we start planning our journey to Neovia." The next morning, Richard laid out a series of star charts on the table. "Neovia is here," he said, pointing to a small system near the outer rim. "It's not an easy journey. We'll need to avoid several checkpoints and navigate through some treacherous areas of space." Anna leaned in, studying the maps intently. "What about this route?" she asked, tracing a line with her finger. Richard raised an eyebrow, impressed by her quick grasp of astrogation. "Possible, but risky. There's a lot of pirate activity in that sector." "But it would save us time," Anna argued. "And time is something we don't have much of." Richard nodded thoughtfully. "You're right. It's a calculated risk, but it might be our best option." As they continued planning, Richard grew increasingly impressed with Anna's strategic mind. She was no pampered princess. She had a keen intellect and a warrior spirit. "We'll need a ship," Anna said, breaking into his thoughts. "Something fast and well-armed." Richard's lips quirked in a rare smile. "I might have just the thing. Come on." He led her to a secure hangar on the outskirts of the spaceport. As the massive door slid open, Anna gasped. Before them stood a sleek, silver spacecraft, its lines speaking of both speed and power. "What is it?" she breathed, circling the ship in awe. "The Shadow Blade," Richard said, a hint of pride in his voice. "Custom-built with technology you won't find anywhere else in the galaxy." Anna turned to him, her eyes shining with excitement and a touch of fear. "This is really happening, isn't it? We're going to take back my world." Richard nodded solemnly. "It won't be easy. The odds are stacked against us. But if you're ready, we'll face them together." Anna squared her shoulders, standing tall despite her small stature. In that moment, Richard saw the queen she could become, brave, determined, and compassionate. "I'm ready," she said firmly. As they boarded the Shadow Blade, Richard felt a familiar surge of adrenaline. It had been years since he'd embarked on a true mission, since he'd allowed himself to fully embrace his abilities. The ship's engines hummed to life, a sound of raw power contained. "Last chance to back out," he said, glancing at Anna in the co-pilot's seat. She met his gaze unflinchingly. "Not a chance. My people need me, and I need you." Richard felt a warmth in his chest that he quickly suppressed. He couldn't afford distractions, not with the challenges that lay ahead. "Then let's go save your kingdom," he said, engaging the launch sequence. The Shadow Blade rose silently into the air, then shot forward with breathtaking speed. As they broke atmosphere and entered the vast expanse of space, Richard allowed himself a moment of reflection. He'd spent years hiding from his past, from his true nature. Now, for better or worse, he was stepping back into the light. The legend was awakening, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Shadow Blade glided through the inky void of space, its sleek form barely visible against the backdrop of stars. In the cockpit, Richard's eyes flicked between the navigational displays and the vast expanse beyond. Anna sat beside him, her emerald eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "How long until we reach the Pyxis Nebula?" she asked. 6 hours, Richard replied. "It's the most dangerous part of our journey, a haven for pirates and outlaws." As if summoned by her words, the ship's proximity alarm blared to life. Richard's hands flew over the controls, bringing up a tactical display. "Incoming vessels," he growled. 4 of them, definitely not friendly." Anna's eyes widened. "Pirates!" "Hang on," Richard muttered, engaging the Shadow Blade's advanced cloaking system. The ship shimmered and vanished from sight, leaving the pirate vessels firing blindly into empty space. Richard piloted with preternatural skill, weaving between energy blasts and debris. Anna gripped her seat, knuckles white. "That was incredible," she breathed as they left the frustrated pirates behind. "Just a taste of what this ship can do," Richard replied. As they continued their journey, Richard found himself opening up to Anna, sharing stories of past adventures. In turn, she spoke of her life on Neovia, her voice tinged with both nostalgia and sorrow. Days passed, filled with moments of danger and quiet reflection. One evening, as they shared a meal in the ship's small galley, Anna broached a subject that had been weighing on her mind. "Richard, there's something I need to tell you about Neovia and my past." He set down his utensil, giving her his full attention. "I'm listening." Anna took a deep breath. "Before the coup, I had allies, people I thought I could trust. But when the time came, they betrayed me. I don't know who I can trust anymore. Richard reached across the table, briefly touching her hand. You can trust me, Anna. I give you my word. She smiled, a small, grateful smile. I know. That's why I'm telling you this. We need to be prepared for anything when we reach Neovia. As if on cue, the ship's sensors blared another warning. Richard sprinted to the cockpit, Anna close behind. What is it? She asked breathlessly. A blockade, Richard replied, his face grim. Looks like your enemies were expecting us. A massive warship loomed before them, flanked by a swarm of smaller vessels. The comm system crackled to life. Attention, unidentified vessel. This is Admiral Vex of the Neovian Defense Force. You are entering restricted space. Power down and prepare to be boarded. Anna's face paled. Vex? He was my father's most trusted general. How could he? No time. Richard cut her off. We need to act fast. Do you trust me? Anna nodded without hesitation. Yes. Then hold on tight, Richard said, engaging the ship's advanced systems. We're going to take control of that ship and reach Neovia. Anna's eyes widened. Just the two of us against an entire crew? You haven't seen what I can really do yet, Richard replied, a fierce light in his eyes. Are you ready to find out? She swallowed hard, then nodded. Let's do it. The shadow blade glided into the docking bay, settling gently onto the deck. As the airlock cycled, Richard turned to Anna one last time. Stay close to me, he said, and no matter what happens, don't be afraid. The airlock hissed open, and they stepped into the belly of the beast. A squad of armed guards waited, weapons trained on them. Admiral Vex stood at their center, his face twisted in a sneer. Well, he drawled, if it isn't the lost princess herself. And who's your friend? Richard's muscles coiled, ready to spring. Someone you really shouldn't have angered. Subscribe to watch more amazing sci-fi stories.